There we go. And good evening and welcome to the week 8 edition of the Pits Analysis Show from Austin and myself, from yours truly, Jackson Johnson. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're in for a wild ride. It could be as wild as Saturday, where my buddy Austin and I had a huge debate about Brian Kelly. And let me tell you something, you could see some more wild moments. And let's just say we're going to bring you some great moments tonight. You may laugh, you may cry, you might be happy, you might get angry, but as Breakaway puts it, we'll be keeping you on your toes. Stay tuned for more. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good, Jackson. Glad to be here with you as always on a
Same.
on a on a on a on a cold and chilly Wednesday night. And I'm kind of nervous, good buddy. Not just for you, but for me as well. We've got two big games this weekend. The third Saturday in October, and we've got Miami coming to the Ville on Saturday. Can't wait to talk about them.
There we go. It's gonna be fun watching them. But
Uh-huh.
we got a little appetizer, and that's Boston
Oh,
College, Virginia Tech. How are you feeling about this one?
this is kind of a fun Thursday night game. I mean, if Amazon Prime game on Thursday Night Football gets out of hand, there's always Boston College, Virginia Tech that can help appease if it gets out of hand between the Broncos and Saints, which I have a feeling that might be a really good game. But we're not here to talk about that. But this game here, Jackson, I feel like this is a game that when you told me at the start of the season, Boston College, Virginia Tech is going to be a key ACC game, I would have told you, you're crazy. This is just going to be one of them Thursday night games that you watch because we're sickos. But this is kind of important because Boston College is still in the race to win the ACC. And Virginia Tech, Jackson, as we know, they've lost a lot of close games, a lot lately, especially that controversial one to Miami. And they kind of Virginia Tech kind of needs this game, Jackson. Just kind of get their self-esteem and confidence back after what happened two Fridays ago.
Oh yeah, they need something good for sure.
And on the other hand, though, Jackson, Boston College, I mean, I don't know if Thomas Castellano is going to be playing, but if he's not playing, that's a huge difference maker in who I might pick in this game. It is in Blacksburg too. Could you imagine, like Jackson, a Blacksburg Thursday night solo stage? Oh, I can't wait to see the side of that. But go ahead, good buddy.
I gotta tell you, Blacksburg, Virginia on Thursday night is like it's basically a horror movie if you're there.
Yeah.
I forgot it was October for a little bit because everybody's watching horror movies by that time. And this is gonna be one of them. Watching your team go to Blacksburg, Virginia. But the question is, do Thursday night and Blacksburg, Virginia at Lane Stadium still have that same scary effect on the road teams, or is it dropped down by a little bit?
I think Jackson Blacksburg has always been that environment. It's, no matter how good or bad the Virginia Tech team is, it's always going to be a challenge. It's one of the best atmospheres in the ACC, and you can make an argument it's one of the best atmospheres in college football to date. I feel like, Jackson, if Boston College is going to win this game, they're going to need to take the crowd out of it because the Hokie fans at night, they're something special. Sure. Everyone talks about how LSU during the daytime is not scary, which they're not. But at nighttime, it's a whole nother animal. Jackson, you know that from experience watching Bama play a lot of night games against LSU. Virginia Tech's the same way. If this was a daytime game, I'd be like, okay, not as scary, but this is a night game. So it
Yeah.
makes it a little more imposing.
You know, I think I'm gonna go with Virginia Tech. I think they've still got it. I believe it's gonna be a 28-17 victory over Boston College.
Jackson, great minds think alike. I'm going for Virginia Tech as well at home. I'm going to go 31-24 Virginia Tech.
Oh yeah. Then we gotta start our Friday night off with a crappy game such as this.
Florida State at Duke
Go
and Wayne Carter Stadium. Jackson, Florida State's been really bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done wasting my breath on trying to talk some sense into them. They're 1-5, Jackson. It's one of them things, Jackson. Florida State, are they just going to win like 2 or 3 games just for their pride? Like, at this point, Florida State, I think, is just playing for pride. They have to be. Because, good grief almighty, they're bad. Yeah, breakaway. Yeah, Duke's got to win this. They do. Because I will say, Jackson. Yes. And I will say, Jackson, Duke is still in the hunt for the ACC as well. You know, and this would look really bad on their resume if they lose to a terrible FSU team.
Good God, it would be horrible.
It's at home for the Blue Devils. Manny Diaz has done good. I like what he's done. You know what, Jackson? Give me the Blue Devils at home. I'll go 27-20 Blue Devils at home.
I'm going to hate myself for this pick. I'm really going to hate myself for it. Reluctantly, I'm going to go with Florida State for a road upset. 24-21.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, this would be the Florida State thing to do. But you know what, Jackson? Speaking of upset and speaking of a certain spoiler, Friday night on Fox.
Oh, man.
Oregon at Purdue.
Oh, man. Purdue almost spoiled hopes for Illinois last Saturday. Like, oh, my God. Like, Illinois had a huge lead, and then they blew it for just a little bit. I mean, it was one of those games that really wasn't on anybody's radar until you saw it on Twitter.
Yeah, and Jackson, what's my famous quote about Purdue that I harp on you about?
That they always play spoiler.
And my nickname for him, Jackson, and a lot of people's nickname for him,
spoiler man.
They're the. And Jackson, this is a perfect
night. Nice.
Jackson, and this is a perfect spoiler maker right here. But I will say this, Jackson. I want to go back to the conversation we had on the After Dark show when we did the Big Ten schedule way back. And I predicted, I said, Purdue could be closer than experts think. And I remember a lot of people said, you're crazy, Austin. Why would you say that? Oregon's going to trounce them, even in Ross-Ade. And I said, look who they played before that. If they beat Ohio State, Purdue thrives in these type of situations. Jackson, I would not be surprised. And call me nuts, call me crazy, Jackson. But if Purdue wins this game, it wouldn't shock me. Because they do this every time. They did it to Ohio State. They've done it to Iowa. They've done it to Michigan. 3 of the premier teams in the Big Ten. Guess what, Oregon? You're no different. Mm-hmm. Purdue's going to treat you like them 3. Jackson, I really want to pull the trigger. I'm like so tempted to pick the upset.
Do it,
because something in my heart tells me that Oregon's gonna have a letdown game, and it's gonna happen right here. And Purdue, Purdue's going to make me do it, aren't they? I want to do it so bad, Jackson. I want to do it so bad.
I dare you.
Jackson, you go first, good buddy. Any thoughts you have on this game, and you can make your pick.
Oh, Oregon's going to trounce. Well, no, they're not going to trounce them. I think Oregon is going to win 35-10 against Purdue.
And Breakaway 34 says they did score 49 points against Illinois, but I trust Dylan Deaver to be clutch. Yeah, Jackson, that's something you just mentioned. I'll give you credit for saying that. You did say that they scored 49 against a good Illinois defense. So they can put up points.
Yup.
I really want to say it, Jackson, but you know what? I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to play it safe because I think I got one up. I got one upset better in mind. I'll go 34-31 Oregon. I think they'll win on a last-second field goal.
Oh, man. Then people are going to be like, oh, my God, Oregon sucks. Like, okay.
Like, you don't know the history of Purdue. It's what they do.
It's like, I still laugh my butt off at people that are just laughing about the Oregon boys state game. Just like, Oregon's a disaster. That's not a team that's going to win at Ohio State. It's like, they're saving their best stuff for the Buckeyes. A few weeks later, what they do, they save their best stuff for the Buckeyes.
Mm-hmm. You called it, Jackson. By the way, props to you for calling that. You even said it all this point. You were like, everyone settle down. Oregon's being very vanilla with the play calling. They don't want to give Ohio State anything on tape. And you were right. They saved all their good stuff for them.
Everybody does. That's the thing.
But I will say, though, Jackson, a game that we thought might have been a really good game, which it still can be in the preseason, but has lost some of its luster because apparently Mike Gundy don't know how to use a star running back. Oklahoma State at BYU.
Ollie Gordon's been hurting.
Like, Jackson, if you would have told me BYU would have been undefeated in the preseason, I would have called you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and Clint Moses says Purdue is saving their stuff for Oregon. Probably. Yeah. We'll see Purdue throw out every trick play in the book, every flea flicker. Oh, my goodness. But, yeah, to this game. Jackson, what's going on with Oklahoma State? I know this is a team that you have a soft spot for. What's up with them? Yeah, give me the lowdown here.
Ooh. Oh, man. You think I got a soft spot for Oklahoma State? Wait until we talk about that team above them that borders them. But yep. Anyway, but Oklahoma State, something's not right with them. I mean, they got smacked by West Virginia, which I got a feeling that's gonna look worse for them. They've just been horrible, man. They need to get rid of that moron offensive coordinator, Casey Dunn. Because honestly, they need to just let Mike Gundy know it's either Casey Dunn or you're going to make a tearful resignation.
Yeah. Because, like, here's the thing, Jackson. A lot of people had a lot of high expectations for Okie State. A lot of people were saying this team could go 9-3, 10-2, and could win the Big 12. And who was I to argue? Jackson, you were even one of them that were a big believer in this team.
I was last year, but like this year in the preseason, if you look back at the top 10 teams that I thought would be the most overrated in all of college football for the preseason, Oklahoma State was one of them. I thought they were overhyped because like all they had was Ollie Gordon. Take him out of the equation, see stuff like this, and we have keep chopping in in the chat. Thank you for tuning in to the show tonight. He says Gundy can look terrible, then have an amazing game. That's his history. Agreed.
That is true.
Yeah, he's kind of weird like that.
Jackson, the Bedlam last year, perfect example of that.
Good grief.
And then what happened when they went to the bounce house? They got trounced. So keep chopping. That's a great, excellent point. Could this be that?
Yeah. Well,
but I will say, Jackson, I know you love talking about him, but what about the job that BYU has done this year? I mean, who would ever thought they'd be 6-0 at this point? Talk about it, good boy.
I'm loving what the Cougars have done this season in their second year of the Big 12. I mean, it is tremendous. And last year they were in a dogfight for bowl eligibility in this game against Oklahoma State. Unfortunately, they lost in double overtime in Stillwater on rivalry week. But now this year, it's Friday night, Big 12 after dark, and the Cougars have a shot at revenge.
And Jackson, in many people's eyes, a lot of people are thinking BYU is on a collision course with Iowa State for the Big 12. This game right here, Jackson, I think is going to prove a whole lot about BYU. Because even though this is Oklahoma State having kind of a downish year, like, if they can pull this off, I'm convinced that maybe they're on a collision course with Iowa State. Because Oklahoma State's not a team that is complete garbage. They're an average football team. If they can get Ollie Gordon going and they can just stop turnovers, Oklahoma State could beat anybody in the Big 12. But Jackson, it is in Provo, Utah. It's going to be an altitude. It's going to be a night game. I picked first on. You want to go first, Jackson? You want me to go first on this one?
You go first.
You know what, Jackson? Knowing Mike Gundy's history, you know what? I'll pick the upset for this one. Give me Okie State on the road. Give me Mike Gundy to have that one signature win, and I think it's going to be here. I'm going to go 23-20 Oklahoma State to get a tough road victory.
Not so fast, my friend. I'm going to go with BYU 28-24 at home.
I mean, I almost picked BYU, but I'm like, now that Keep Chopping brings that up, I'm kind of thinking this might be the game, because you remember last year, Jackson, when they started talking about maybe we should fire Mike Gundy, he's no good. And then what happens? He goes on that big winning streak, and then the rumblings are starting once again. Maybe Mike Gundy should be exiled. Here we go again, Jackson.
Good Lord.
I could see this being the game that gets him back on track. Oh, boy.
Well, then
Fresno at Nevada.
Oh, man, we got the revenge game. Are we going to see Louisville possibly pull off that upset? Or are we going to see Miami continue their winning ways? What is going on? My mistake, Miami going for revenge. Because, last year was a crazy end. My God, that was...
Gave me a heart attack.
You take the floor on this one, Austin. I'll just sit and relax.
So this is okay. I'll do the same when we get to third Saturday in October. I'll let you have the floor. So this game here is, Miami. They're coming to Louisville this year. We played them last year in Miami, and it was a game of all games, back and forth, back and forth. It seems like Miami-Louisville is always a competitive game. It's been that way since we joined the conference. I feel like Miami's that one team that always plays us back and forth, no matter who's up or who's down. And now that Miami's got Cam Ward, a quarterback that we have not faced because he was at Washington State, we never played the Cougars. So we have no clue what he's like on the field other than what we're watching on tape. But as we know, sometimes tape don't always do it justice either. You can game plan all you want until you get punched in the mouth. We could say we're going to blitz him, get him off target. That's a nice plan and all, but then Miami's got plenty of weapons like a Strepo. You let him get behind the defense, you're toast. Like that guy can fly. Miami is loaded with weapons. Damian Martinez, the former Oregon State running back who transferred there, he's a guy who could take you 5-10 yards down the field after contact. This Miami team is loaded up. They're a really good football team, but they've also shown signs of weakness as well. Where the Virginia Tech game, the controversial ending, Cal, which me and Jackson got in an argument over on Saturday, was Cal a good team or were they a bad team?
We were just kind of acting like Mr. White and nice guy Eddie over Brian Kelly. He was like our Mr. Orange. Like Austin was basically Mr. White. That's a Reservoir Dogs reference. Austin, remind me next time we do. I plan like a hangout session, like to show you that movie.
I got you. Okay, but Miami has shown also times of being the most dominant team and complete team in the ACC against Florida, which Florida has shown some confidence. We'll get to Florida later on, but Miami's one of the teams, if they show up and play like we know they can very well win this game by 2 or 3 scores. But if we get the Miami that we've seen the last 2 weeks before they went on their bye, we have a chance. But we've got to clean up the penalties, the turnovers. We've got to run the ball, keep the ball out of Cam Ward's hands, because that's what our bread and butter is. It's what Jeff Brom has said from day one since he got to Louisville. The mission statement is we're going to punch you in the mouth, we're going to run the ball, and we're going to be physical and establish line of scrimmage. Are the refs pulling for Miami again? There's that conspiracy theory out there that Clint, that has gone around a couple times. I have heard that. I'm sure Jackson has as well, about Miami and being the ACC darling. But this is a big time game. It's at home. Jackson, and this is a sellout game too. They announced today that the stadium's sold out. It's going to be a blackout game. We've looked bad the last couple weeks, but we've also found a way to win against Virginia, which we'll get to them in just a second when we get down there. Jackson, what are your thoughts on this game? Let me know. What are you thinking about this game?
This looks like a game that Miami could lose. It looks like one of those games that Miami could lose that they shouldn't. Yeah, they should win this game, but it's like they almost lost to Cal, but they didn't. They almost just, I don't know what is it with this Miami team, but they've been looking pretty impressive this year. But I do understand the questions about whether the referees are pulling for them or not, because it does seem that way. I mean, they got lucky against Virginia Tech. They got lucky against Cal. Does the luck run out at L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium?
Man, Jackson, that's a long heck of a name for a stadium. Like, I know we can't, it used to be Papa John's, but they need to shorten that name. But you know what, Jackson? I want you to pick first on this one, and then I'll pick first on your game. I want you to pick first.
I'm going to reluctantly, I think Miami gets lucky again. with a 31-28 victory.
Okay, so we've got a couple people in the chat saying that that there could be upset brewing for me. Breakaway says upset for you, Austin, and Clint Moses says halftime adjustments winning for Louisville. That's gonna be a big key because Jackson, I feel like Clint said, halftime adjustments are going to be a big factor. You know what, Jackson? I really want to pick the upset, but I think, Jackson, we haven't shown our best football yet, and I don't think Miami's played their best football yet. And I think unless Jackson, we could stop the penalties and turnovers, I think we'll keep it close, but I'm going to go 34-30 Miami.
That's fair.
In this next game, Jackson, another crucial ACC game. Go ahead, good buddy. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go for it.
I think Clemson's going to blow the doors off Virginia. I mean, they got a shotgun ready and rolling for Virginia. It's going to go.
Jackson, now Virginia is improved. They're not as sloppy as they have been the last 2 years under Tony Elliott, but this isn't Death Valley.
But it's like those last 5 games for Clemson, they've looked
really on fire.
Everybody. It's like they've got the belt out, just spanking everyone in the back room.
But I will quote your favorite person, Jackson, the great Mark Rogers. Someone called about Clemson, and Mark says, I need to see Clemson play someone with a pulse before I call them legit again.
Virginia's not
unfortunately,
with a pulse.
Yeah, I was about to say Mark ain't going to find that answer this week. I'll go Clemson 38-20.
I think it's going to be more like Clemson 48-17 against Virginia. Oh man. But we got some good
Jackson,
ones in the Big Ten, which, speak of the devil, we got a good friend of ours. He's the co-host of the Big Ten show, host of Locked On Illini, the host of Illini, creator of Illini Cast, the co-host of Bears on Tap, and a contributor to Tets at the Voice of College Football, Sonny Verma, wishing us a good evening. And a good evening to you too, Sonny. And I'm going to tell you right now, we got ourselves a wild week in all of college football, especially in the Big Ten.
That's a lot of titles. He's a busy man.
Yes,
anywho, go ahead, Jackson.
He's one of the busiest men I've ever seen. He's one of the hardest working men you'll ever meet, and he's one of the smartest men you'll ever meet. Matter of fact, if you're looking for a go-to on Illinois athletics, go to Sonny Verma. Matter of fact, if you're looking for any go-to analysis on Chicago sports as a whole, Sonny is your guy. I mean, I know he's my guy. Like, anytime I need analysis on the Bears or the Bulls or the Cubs, White Sox.
It's not busy when you love doing it. Appreciate the kind words. That is true. When you have a passion and you follow it, it's always. But speaking of love, Jackson, there will be no love lost in this next game.
No.
Go ahead, good buddy.
Yeah, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, they have not been winning against top 25 teams. I saw something on X from College Football Home where they said that it's been quite a while that Nebraska has beaten a top 25 team. And as for Indiana, it's the first. This is their best start since 1967. Now, what that best? Now, 1967 was the last time Indiana went to the Rose Bowl, and Some of the things that happened that year, well, Gunsmoke and Bonanza were still on television. We had just gotten to color TV for every television program. College football was on television, but you could only watch it on television 4 or 5 times a year. You couldn't watch it on your phone while sitting in a bathtub like you can now. But
And,
but
and
yeah,
Jackson,
like the number one television show back in '67 was the Andy Griffith Show. Uh, the top movies to go see were Rosemary's Baby and Bonnie and Clyde and uh, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner from Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. And I can tell you right
man of
now,
culture.
yeah, well, I mean, it's been quite a while for Indiana since they've had a humongous year in college football. And when they had that huge year in 1967, they went to the Rose Bowl, but they lost 14-3 against OJ Simpson and the USC Trojans. He went
And keep
slashing that Indiana defense that day, unfortunately.
and Jackson, keep chopping has a great question. Is this the most hyped up home game in history of Indiana football? It's got to be close.
I mean,
Come to think of it, Jackson, have they really ever had a game that's been talked about this much? Because there's been quite a few years they've been bad, like Jeffrey always tells us.
I appreciate it, man, but I'm not quite there yet.
Jackson, the year that they played Ohio State and Michigan in 2020, were either of those games in Bloomington?
Oh man, like I don't think like there's been some really big games for Indiana, but I don't think I've seen them in Bloomington. Like not in my lifetime. I mean, like the biggest one for me was 2007 Indiana Purdue on November 17th on the Big Ten Network, where they were 6-5 fighting for bowl eligibility. Now, I know that's not fighting for bowl eligibility for a lot of teams now, but back in '07, if you had like 2 FCS wins or like your wins weren't good enough, you basically had to go 7-5 if you were a certain team like Indiana. And
Yeah, that
Indiana
was
won a
back.
tight one against Purdue. Like that's the biggest home game for Indiana in '07 that I can think of. But 2024
I
Indiana,
know it's
Nebraska is much bigger.
yeah. I feel like the Ohio State Michigan games in 2020. I feel like they were kind of hampered because of the entire college football situation. Like Indiana was really good that year with Penix and company, but as we know, the world kind of went upside down, and not everything was the same. But this is probably the biggest one to date. But we're in a college football world now, Jackson, where Nebraska is one win away from going to bowl eligibility, and Indiana is 6-0 on the verge of 7-0. Like, think of the story of this, Jackson. Like, who would have ever thought Nebraska, after all those bad years they had, being one win away from being 6-1 and still having a Big Ten title dream ahead of them? Like, this is great, Jackson. This is what I love about this sport, is that Matt Rhule, Kurt Cignetti, thank you. You're bringing us teams. You're bringing them back to relevancy. Nebraska football, like I've always been told, and Jackson, you would agree with me, is a blue blood. Even though they've been bad so many years, they're still blue blood. When Nebraska does good, the sport does good. When Indiana does good, the sport does good.
You know, I just thought about this. Our friends Justin Adams and Jeffrey at Only Taught Sports had quite an amazing discussion on Nebraska at the Voice College Football and Indiana at the Voice College Football, talking about this game. And we've heard our buddy Jeffrey talk about this quite a lot, that Indiana football is kind of like Nebraska basketball, and Nebraska football is kind of like Indiana basketball. He and Justin talked a little bit about that at one point last night. And he's right. They're strangely similar. They've got a lot in common.
And Rough Rider returns. Thank you for joining us. And he said, imagine the Big Ten if Nebraska and USC return to their glory days. Oh, could you imagine, Jackson? Have Michigan, Ohio State, Illinois stay on the uprise, Indiana, USC, Nebraska. Oh, I'm just in heaven thinking about this. In Oregon and Washington. Oh, I better stop. I'm going to have dreams tonight about having a 6-way tie for first place in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Like Jackson, this is everyone's dream. But, anywho, back to the game.
Yeah.
Jackson, and I'm so happy, Jackson, that Big Noon Kickoff is going to be at this game.
Yep.
Finally giving them some recognition.
Yeah. I've been loving what O'Rourke has been bringing throughout this year for Indiana. I've been loving what this Indiana offense has brought out. And I've also loved what Nebraska has brought out throughout this year so far. They've been tremendous throughout the season, although they did come up short in the Illinois game, but still, they seem like they're going to be all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jackson, this is one of them games where what concerns me is now that Indiana is playing someone with a pulse, how are they going to handle this pressure? Because the whole world's going to be watching them. All eyes are on them now. They're not going to be on the Big Ten Network. They're not going to be on, they're not going to be on Peacock. They're going to be for the whole world to watch them.
Well, I'm
going to be curious how they hold them.
They were on NBC when they played UCLA several weeks ago.
But you got to think, though, Jackson, UCLA is pretty bad. This is their first, big opponent.
Yeah. You got me thinking on this one.
That's like Alabama Mercer being on CBS. I mean, come on.
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
But do you want to pick first? Or do you want me to go first on this one, Jackson?
You go first.
So I think Nebraska's defense, I think they're going to be tough. I think they're going to cause a lot of problems for Indiana. I think Nebraska's offense and Dylan Raiola are going to have a nice day through the air. I'm sorry, but I still not buying the Hoosier hype just yet. Give me Nebraska on the road in Bloomington, 20-16 in a defensive slugfest.
Well, and I say Indiana is going to win this one 28-24 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox in Bloomington, Indiana.
We shall see. We shall see.
Ugh. Auburn's really got nothing to lose. They better figure it out quick.
Auburn at Missouri.
Missouri.
Jackson? Yeah, Missouri. Could this be the game, Jackson, that Auburn wins?
Well, I mean, Luther Burden is probable against Auburn at the moment. Why do I get the weird feeling this game's going to go to overtime?
Oh, not another overtime game for Missouri. Yeah, Jackson, Missouri has been playing on thin ice Like they are showing themselves to not be a serious contender.
Austin, it's because they're horse dung.
Like, and here's the thing: Auburn always wins that one game you don't think they should.
Yep.
Is that going to be this one, Jackson, or is Missouri going to pull it out in tight fashion?
No, it's going to be another close loss for Auburn, and we're going to hear about how they're the best 3-9 team in all of college football.
So, what's your score prediction? How close you got it?
Missouri 28, Auburn 27.
Okay, so I'm going to go Missouri too. I'm going to go Missouri 24, Auburn 21. I got a field goal win for Missouri.
Neither one of us like where Missouri's going. Oh, we saw Jeff Monken from Army on the Pat McAfee show today. That was pretty fun.
I think Army should keep it rolling. They're playing East Carolina.
We have not seen a team this good since 1945. I mean, neither one of us were alive in 1945, but everybody in college football hasn't seen Army this good since 1945. I mean, the things that happened then were the end of World War II. Franklin D. Roosevelt had just started his fourth term, and he passed away on April 12th of 1945. The World War II in Europe had ended. World War II in Asia had ended. Yeah, and let me see. Oh, there's a few good things. I'll figure it out later. Like, cause I mean, there's some good stuff that happened in 1945. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck cartoons and Daffy Duck and Tom and Jerry cartoons out in theaters. So I mean, you could go see them in theaters, and well, it was pretty wild, but it was pretty amazing. But we don't ever hear about 1945 Alabama, unfortunately. Hey, I mean, kind of like how 1984 BYU is like the famous lore at the Voice College Football. From now on, I'm gonna see if I can make 1945 Alabama the famous lore. That'll be like my fetch.
Fetch. Well, Jackson, another interesting Big Ten game: Wisconsin at Northwestern. And Wisconsin historically has had struggles with Northwestern.
Ugh, they're terrible at Evanston, Illinois. Like, my God, like the record has been like since the start of the 21st century, Northwestern they are they're 9-9 against Wisconsin, but I can tell you right now, you're not gonna want to mess with Northwestern if you're Wisconsin, because I mean they're coming off a dominating 42-7 victory over the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. We know a guy that was bragging about Rutgers a year ago, but he said it like he discovered fire. But the Badgers, man.
Yeah.
I just gotta tell you right now, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Because I mean, like Northwestern, they're coming off a dominating victory over Maryland. I mean, like 37-10. Northwestern. Good God.
Yeah, this game, Jackson.
Actually,
go ahead.
Yeah, actually, they won in 2022, Dave. But prior to 2022, yeah, let me see. Yeah, 1999. That was on October 30th of 1999.
So there's some history there.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
And the thing too is, Jackson,
Wisconsin's bad over in Evanston, Illinois.
And Jackson, they're coming off such a dominating win, coming off such a high beating a Rutgers team that a lot of people thought could be a dark horse in the Big Ten. Jackson, and with given the history, give me Northwestern to pull off a big-time home victory. 24-16, Wildcats at home.
You know what? I think I'm going to go with another Northwestern upset in Evanston, Illinois, where they will now be 7-2 against Wisconsin, which dates back to 2000 at Evanston, with a 24-21 victory.
Can Rutgers bounce back, Jackson? UCLA at Rutgers. Is UCLA going to pull off an upset, or is Rutgers gonna keep chopping?
Huh.
What do you think, Jackson?
Really, I think I'm gonna go with Rutgers winning this one in a 28-17 victory against UCLA.
Yeah, Rutgers. This getaway. I think Rutgers, they're going to play determined, ticked off. I'll go 31-10 Rutgers. I think they bounce back dominant at home.
Here's a fun one.
I wouldn't be surprised if UCLA wins. I wouldn't either. That's the UCLA thing to do. But go ahead, Jackson. Go ahead.
Well, we got ourselves another exciting game, and that's going to be the Arizona State Sun Devils going to Cincinnati. And we found out that their QB Leavitt is out, and Jeff Sims is going to be taking over. And Jeffrey was talking about Jeff Sims the other day on Crimson Tide Live, the 8th edition, and he didn't really have anything nice to say about Jeff Sims. So that's not a good time when you got Jeff Sims taking over. And especially after you pull off over Utah on Big 12 after dark.
Yeah, that Jeff Sims coming in as the backup, that concerns me because at Nebraska, Jackson, he was a turnover machine. Like everywhere you looked, he always had at least one or two turnovers. But I think the great equalizer for this, Jackson, is Cam Scatboat or Skidboat or Skiboat or however you say that last name. I think he could be a great equalizer.
I can't help but feel like that Skateboat at Arizona State is kind of like the next Ollie Gordon. Yep.
And keep the simple game plan. Beat Catboat. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that's what they're going to do. Try to keep him from not throwing. But they are going to Nippert Stadium, where Cincinnati is a really tough team in front of their home crowd. And they've looked considerably better. But Arizona State, you know what, Jackson? I'll let you pick first.
I'm going to go with Cincinnati in a 31-21 victory against Arizona State. Now, if Arizona State didn't lose their starting quarterback to injury, then I would have Arizona State winning 28-21 against Cincinnati. But in the meantime, I'm going to go with Cincinnati in a 31-21 victory.
You know what, Jackson? I'll go Arizona State. I think Scatboat or Skipboat, however you pronounce the name, apologies. But I think he'll be a great equalizer. They'll be able to run the football, be able to keep the Cincinnati defense off balance just enough that if Jeff Sims can make a couple throws, they should be fine. I'll go 27-17 Arizona State.
There we go. Well, we got a good one on SEC Network. The South Carolina Gamecocks and the Oklahoma Sooners. That's going to be a wild one, because Oklahoma's trying to get right after that humongous defeat by the Texas Longhorns. South Carolina's coming off another close but no cigar game against Alabama. I mean, it's like they were close but no cigar against LSU. They were close but no cigar against Alabama. Which South Carolina are we going to see in this one? The one that almost upset Alabama, LSU, or the one that dominated Kentucky? Like, that's the question I've got for South Carolina. As for the Oklahoma Sooners, they don't look so good. This is not a really good Oklahoma team. This is
No.
a disastrous team. But a fun storyline that we're going to be seeing is Shane Beamer making his first return to Norman, Oklahoma since he left Oklahoma after 2020 to become the new head coach of South Carolina for 2021.
Yeah. Jackson, I would have all the confidence in the world picking Oklahoma, but I can't trust the quarterback play. Michael Hawkins, Jackson Arnold, they both. And just like Trojan Fight said, is OU still missing their top 5 wide receivers? Last I saw in the injury report, I think 2 of them are supposed to be back this week. As last I saw in the injury report. But like you said, Jackson, South Carolina has come so close to beating some of the top tier teams within their conference. Of course, the most notable one last weekend against your Crimson Tide. And then when College Game Day took a trip to South Carolina, had LSU on the ropes. But that OU defense is formidable. They can keep this team. They can keep Oklahoma in games. And Rough Rider says until Oklahoma NIL donors take it to the next step, OU is going to have problems. I agree. And Breakaway says, I think SC, but OU needs this. What do y'all think on Arnold versus Hawkins? Is Venable good? Seth literal bad or just new?
I think they need to make changes as a whole in Norman. They need to be looking at the roster, the coaching staff, everything. I mean, that whole place needs a freaking overhaul.
I will say this. Jackson, I like Brent Venables. I think he's a good football coach. Yeah. I don't think this is all on him.
True.
I think they just have really bad quarterback play. Their offense needs a lot of improving. Jackson, South Carolina's son has come so close so many times. And Shane Beamer, is single-handedly, if he just wins one of those games, could save their job. They both need it, but Oklahoma needs it more for morale. And it's in Norman. You know what, Jackson? I'll take Oklahoma. I'll go 24-14 Sooners.
This is a tough one for me because, this is one of those games where you got to flip a coin. South Carolina, they've shown me that they come up short all the time. They've been doing that against LSU. They did that against Alabama last Saturday. Do I think they do it again? The struggles on the O-line from Oklahoma rivals USC.
Yeah.
That sells it for me. I'm going to go USC. Well, not USC. South Carolina. Sorry, I've been having 20 things on my mind. South Carolina is not the real USC. They would have to beat USC 4 straight years for that. But South Carolina is going to win 24-21 in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't blame you for picking them. I flipped a coin on this game. Yes. Here we go. Hold on, good buddy. Since you introduced my game. No.
There we
Hold
go.
on, good. Let me do this. Good buddy. You introduce my game. I get to introduce yours. And then I'll let you have the floor. Like, come on, Jackson. We have the 2024 edition of the third Saturday in October, a tradition like no other. But it's been dominated by Alabama the last couple years, except for the Hendon Hooker year. And now we've got new faces. No more Nick Saban. Jalen Milroe versus Nico Avalavu. I mean, Josh Heupel, can he put the doubters to sleep? Can he prove that it wasn't a fluke? A lot of storylines, a lot of things happening. Jackson, the floor is yours, good buddy. Go for it. Knock their socks off.
Prior to 2022, a lot of people were forgetting about this game being a top rivalry. It's basically the Oregon-Washington of the South. When people look at this game, it's a fascinating rivalry. You think about Tennessee dominating Alabama in the 90s with Peyton Manning, or you think about Bear Bryant dominating the Tennessee Volunteers when he was head coach over there. You think of some of these battles in the 1930s, like you think about like Wallace Wade and Robert Nealon going against one another in the late 20s. You think about Robert Nealon going against Frank Thomas in the 30s, 40s. Those are some wild, tenacious battles. You think about Kenny Stabler throwing that ball out of bounds on fourth down not realizing that was third down. Forgetting about clock management. You talk about clock management on Will Howard. Shoot, Kenny Stabler did not have any good clock management skills that day in 1965 when Alabama and Tennessee tied at 7 points apiece. And, 2022, we saw Tennessee ending that famous losing streak against the Alabama Crimson Tide. 1966, we saw Alabama upset, like almost getting upset by Tennessee by a rainy day in Knoxville with an 11-10 victory. You saw Alabama making a comeback in 1972 against the Volunteers, and in 1979 as well. A 4-overtime battle, which might as well have been a 4-hour tour in 2003. What amazing next chapter will we see in Knoxville from Nico Lima-Leva, Ryan Williams, Jalen Milroe, and Josh Heupel, and Kalen DeBoer? For me, it's Tennessee.
I know, for me as an outsider, Jackson, I would say Auburn would be, for me as an outsider, like I would say Bama Auburn.
He was asking outside of Auburn. But it's all right.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Whoopsie. I got sometimes forget. I'd probably say LSU then. My bad. LSU.
No. Alabama, Tennessee is
come
bigger than Alabama, LSU for me, and it always will be.
But I will say, though, Jackson, let me ask you this. So this is a huge game, obviously. But did both these teams, Jackson's, had struggles this year? Alabama not recovering an onside kick, which I know you've done plenty of ranting on that. Tennessee almost blowing it to Florida.
Oof.
At home in Knoxville. And then, giving Oklahoma a chance and beating them 25-11. Jackson, both these teams, like I said, have had their struggles this year. I'm curious to see, Jackson, Jackson? I think this game's going to come down to quarterback play, in my opinion. If Jalen Milroe is the Jalen Milroe that we saw in the first half against Georgia, Alabama's going to win this game in Knoxville. But if he's the Jalen Milroe we saw against Carolina, South Carolina, and against Vandy, Tennessee can win this game. But it also comes down if Nico plays like Nico played in the first 3 games, Tennessee is a dangerous offense. But an underrated part of Tennessee's game, Jackson, is their running game. They have a nice little running game, and we saw it in full effect in the overtime win over Florida. It's going to be interesting, and Knoxville's going to be loud. I wish this was a night game, but we'll get to the night game.
Well, personally, I'm really not too worried about whether it being a night or if it being a late game, morning game, whatever. It's like is there, you know. But
I'd personally like to see Knoxville at night. This is one of them. I'm surprised, Jackson, that looking at this, if you would have told me Alabama would be coming into this one loss, I would have said, who was that loss to? Georgia? I would have never thought Vandy would be that one loss.
yeah,
So
nobody did.
So I think I'm in the same boat with a lot of people. Like, a lot of people would have said, oh, did you lose to Georgia? Get in line. But, Jackson, this is really a power struggle because Alabama and Tennessee both are sitting in one loss in the SEC. The loser of this game is more than likely finished in terms of getting to Atlanta in December.
Yeah, like the loser is likely finished in going to the SEC title game, but finished in the playoff race, not quite.
Depending. Well, Jackson, we'll have to see how the field shapes out, but it could finish. If Tennessee loses, it could finish them off. Because, Jackson, I have a feeling, like, depending on how, I feel like Alabama being more the brand name, they would have a chance to recover. Tennessee, it'd be one of them. I could see it where it could knock them out. But, Jackson, I really, really want to pick Alabama. But something's telling me y'all played with fire one too many times. And you all have shown you all been an undisciplined football team. Your secondary has shown weakness. I'm sorry, Jackson. I'm going upset Knoxville. Give me Tennessee. 31-28. Give me the Vols to win at home. I think Alabama has just shown me too much bad. They're not as disciplined as they should be. I think that's going to bite them.
I think the Crimson Tide, fortunately, will have another Heisman moment from Ryan Williams as they win in the fourth quarter, 28-24 against the Tennessee Volunteers. Let's go.
Interesting pick, Jackson. Interesting pick, but if Bama wins, I'll give you your credit. But I think Nico and company and your undisciplined defense and your bad game management, I think it catches up to you again. But I will say, though, Jackson, we got an interesting game. Notre Dame at Georgia Tech and Bobby Dodd.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jackson, could Georgia Tech spoil Notre Dame's season?
It's a good question. Because, I mean, Georgia Tech's had it pretty good this year. I've been really impressed with them.
Oh, I have too.
Like Notre Dame, I can't help but feel like that Northern Illinois loss lit a fire on them.
Like in Jackson, and I know a lot of people think Notre Dame wins out. wins out, they'll more than likely make the playoffs. Let me ask you this, Jackson. No matter what they do you think they could still miss the playoffs because that loss is so bad? Even if they win out?
No.
Really? So Jackson, you're telling me
if Notre Dame wins out, I think people have largely forgotten about Notre Dame, Northern Illinois. I think Alabama Vanderbilt has kind of overshadowed that game, but there will be some more losses eventually that overshadow Alabama losing to Vanderbilt and Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois. I don't know which game that will be exactly, but there's that one weird game that nobody's really watching until they hear about it on ats or Instagram or anything on social media, really.
Because Jackson, I feel like Jackson, if Notre Dame wins out, because Jackson, look at who they got left on their schedule. They've got a bad Florida State team. They've got an all right to good Georgia Tech team. This would be a really good win, I think, if they pull it off. Jackson, their best wins would be Army and Navy as we sit.
Yeah.
Do you think they can? And don't let me forget. My apologies, Texas A&M. Texas A&M, my bad. But Jackson, do you think that Texas A&M win would be enough to save their high?
Absolutely.
Jackson, are you being homerish? Be honest.
I'm being completely honest.
Jackson, I'm not buying it. People saying Notre Dame wins out, they're gonna make it. I feel like that loss is gonna come back to bite them. I truly do, because Jackson, we have seen what the committee will do to teams that they think are not worthy. Look what they did to Florida State. And they were undefeated and won their conference, had every evidence in the world to be there, and they still screwed them. But I'm getting on my high horse about Notre Dame in the playoffs. My bad. But as for this game, I think, Jackson, Bobby Dodd is a very underrated environment. You know, Louisville hasn't played there in quite a while. We played in Atlanta last year, and then they came to Louisville this year. And I don't know if we'll be playing them next year or not, but Bobby Dodd's a very underrated stadium. Just ask North Carolina about that. I think, Jackson, Notre Dame they're starting to find their rhythm again. With Riley Leonard getting him established on the ground, they're finally using their running game. Mark Denbrock is starting to open the offense up. And Notre Dame's defense is looking really solid like always. But Benjamin Morrison, Jackson, is out for the season. Does that change who you might pick for this game?
For me, nope.
So you think Notre Dame has got depth that'll be able to recover from that? Because Benjamin Morrison followed the number ones. Do you think his backup can handle that?
I think Notre Dame can get it done in a 28-21 victory. I really do. Their question is, how will they do against Navy next week?
You know what, Jackson? I want to pull the trigger again. I'll go Notre Dame to go on the road to Bobby Dodd. I'll go 27-24 Irish. I think Haynes King and company will keep it close, but then Riley Leonard wins it at the end.
And Dave Valinsky makes a huge point because of Notre Dame, blue blood status, and the fact of the matter is we're in a 12-team playoff, not a 4-team playoff. That really helps.
That's a good point. Yeah, I got you. Notre Dame's blue blood status will probably kick some teams out. I got you.
True.
But Jackson, we have a really interesting game.
Oh man,
Got a really interesting.
you know what
Go ahead,
Friday?
introduce it.
You know what Friday is gonna be?
What's
The
that?
what?
Happy
The
Hanukkah?
actually not sure when Hanukkah is, but no, I think it's like a week before Christmas. But anyway,
Oh, okay.
this will be
Darn
this.
it.
Yeah, this will be the 100th anniversary of the Red Grange matchup, where he just had a one-man performance against the Michigan Wolverines in 1924. Like, my God, like, dude intercepted 2 passes. He took the opening kickoff for 95 yards. Then he had 3 more touchdowns. I mean, this guy was like a one-man performance against them. That's not somebody I would have wanted to mess with back then. And now
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday, this matchup will be on CBS and on Paramount Plus. Illinois has had a nice start to their season. Michigan, they've been on the downtrodden so far. They've not looked so hot, especially with their QB play. It has just been disastrous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jackson, I will say the from what I've gathered from watching all these podcasts and watching, all the Wolverine fans, Jack Tuttle seems like to be the move right now. If he's healthy and ready to play, he seems like to be the move for the Wolverines. Like, and that's the thing that concerns me, Jackson, because Michigan, they're a team with still a lot of talent. Khalil Mullins, Donovan Edwards, Colston Loveland, Will Johnson back there at corner and safety. They've got a lot of top end talent. Mason Graham. A lot of guys are going to be going pro and getting drafted. It's just their quarterback situation needs to get figured out. And that's what worries me about this team, Jackson, because let's be honest here. If Michigan's quarterback situation was solidified and they were playing good, I would pick them no matter where they're going to play because they have the talent around them. But I feel like Jackson, since their quarterback situation is kind of shaky, it makes me pause. But as for Illinois, if Sonny Verma is still here, what an incredible start. After
Um,
last year, after missing a bowl game and a lot of people calling for Brent Bielema's job. And I remember, Jackson, when that happened, you were like telling everyone, slow the boat, calm down. Well, let's not get too hasty. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There were some Illini fans saying, we need to get rid of this guy ASAP. He's no good. And you were like, it was one bad year. Let's see what he does in 2024. And then we can have a discussion. But here they are. And, Sonny Verma, on the Voice of College Football, along with John Giannimo and TJ Ron on the Michigan Live preview talked about the Illinois defense. And I want to point that out. That Illinois defense has been really good, really solid. Only gave up 21 points to Penn State, an offense a lot of people consider one of the best in the Big Ten, maybe even in the country. Like, Illinois is a good football team. Luke Altmaier seems to be finding himself. The offense, I like their offense. And it's at home against Michigan. This could spell trouble for the Wolverines.
oh, yeah. I would not want to be messing around with Illinois or Michigan. That's going to be a tight one.
I mean, let me ask you this, Jackson. You've been on the more believer side of Michigan more than I have. I jumped off after I saw what happened against Texas. Jackson, do you still consider Michigan a threat in the Big Ten?
After this game, we will know more as to whether they are a threat in the Big Ten for 2024. Am I expecting this team to go to the Big Ten title? No, I don't expect that. Do I think they can make noise on who gets to the Big Ten title? Do I think they can make noise on who gets in the 12-team playoff? Absolutely.
Mhm. And Rough Rider returns, says Illinois led the Big Ten in defense in 2022. Yes, they did, because that was the year they had Devin Witherspoon drafted in the top 5, which that was like a shocking thing. A lot of people expected him to go top 15, but not top 5. But the Seahawks to be top 5, which was great. Glad that they saw the value in it. It's working out really well. But that Illinois defense was really, really good. They won a lot of games off that defense. But I will say, though, Jackson, to your point, this is a chance for me, Jackson, because I really want to get back on the Michigan bandwagon. I want to believe like you do, but their quarterback play is too suspect.
True.
Like, Breakaway says Illinois had some holes in their deep 49 to Purdue. That is true, but it was also second half and some turnovers. But I will say, and that's no excuse. 49 points is still 49 points, whether it's turnovers or not. Like, not making any excuses. But
True.
turnovers, if you get a short field, sometimes your defense can always back it up. But yeah.
Before we make
I
our
will say this, though.
have you seen the
Oh, go ahead.
uniforms? This is for the 100-year anniversary for Illinois.
Yeah, I had not seen that.
There you go.
That's
Pretty
kind of cool.
Huh?
Is that a brown helmet or an orange?
It looks brownish orange, but it's commemorating the Red Grange performance from 1924 on October 18th. Everybody walked really fast in the 1920s, although that may just be the camera film.
But I will say, Jackson, for me, if Michigan gets good quarterback play, if Jack Tuttle, I've heard a lot of good things about him, how he's brought a spark to this offense and could change things. I'll let you go first, good buddy. I've picked the last couple times first. Let you go first on this one.
You know something? I think it's going to be Michigan 20-17.
I gotcha. You know what, Jackson? I'm going to take the Illini in this game. I don't trust Michigan. I've lost faith in them. They're, like I keep saying, I'm beating a dead horse, but their quarterback play is suspect. Give me the Illini with the momentum at home. I'm going to go 22-16 Illini to get the W at home.
Yep. Well, I don't think I don't really like these next 2 games. It's like, oh my God. Like, North Carolina State's just been crippled by injuries. I mean, oh my God. And Cal always comes up short.
You know what, Jackson? It's a cross-country trip. NC State, they're shorthanded, like you said. Give me Cal at home. I'll go 33.
If Cal can't win this game, we better have conversations about Justin Wilcox's future.
Well, Jackson, remind me Saturday. Remind us Saturday. We'll talk about this game. If Cal doesn't win, we'll have that conversation. And I'll take back everything I said last week.
Oh.
Yeah, those games are sicko games.
I mean, we are up at 1 a.m. talking about North Carolina State Cal, so we are pretty huge sickos.
Yeah, we're sickos. But I'll go Cal 28-17.
Oh, man. It's like, I think I'm a complete sicko because, like, I deep down want to check on Kansas just a little bit on ESPN Plus. Oh my God, it's like they massacred my boy. They massacred my boy. They massacred my boy.
Good going,
Ah,
guys. Jackson's having a fit now.
ah.
Y'all, good going, ESPN Plus. Oh yeah, no doubt you do need some serious counseling.
Uh,
LOL, I'm up watching y'all talk about it. Love it. Hey, we're sickos. I mean,
yep.
that's okay. We're not hurting nobody. I
Nope.
mean, it's probably not good for our sleep schedule, but hey,
No.
there's no sleep during the season.
Oh, our sleep
But
schedule's a freaking disaster. I was talking. Oh man, it's like, all right, it's a freaking disaster. But
anyway, Jackson, is Cal gonna upset NC State, or is NC State gonna go across the country and find a way to win,
oh,
even being depleted?
Cal will win. Cal will win. 21-17.
And speaking of the game that's caused Jackson
Jesus.
to need some counseling, is Houston at Kansas on ESPN Plus. And the reason why this is causing Jackson mental anguish is because he picked Kansas to win the Big 12 in the preseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said that
Jackson,
Kansas, West Virginia would be playing each other for the Big 12 title game, and I thought Kansas would win the Big 12.
Jackson, as a good friend, you're nuts, but we love you anyway.
Yep. Well, I love y'all too. Y'all are awesome, man.
Jackson, does Kansas finally get back on the board and maybe salvage some of their season, or is Willie Fritz gonna and kick them out of bowl eligibility?
Please win Kansas. Please win Kansas. Please win Kansas. No, unfortunately, no. It's gonna be Houston. 28-21.
You know what, Jackson? Just for you, it's in Lawrence or Arrowhead Stadium. Just so they keep fighting. I'll go Kansas 31 26 Jayhawks. Eh,
Oh man, there's USC Maryland. Oh my God, what is wrong with both these schools right now? What is
yeah,
wrong with the
Jackson.
Trojans? And what is wrong with Mike Lotzley in Maryland? And maybe it's just like, because I think we had conversations about it this offseason. And I even went as far as say it last year, because you can find it on an archive on one of the Ocho episodes, but I asked the question whether we'd see like Mike Lotzley on a hot seat if Maryland continues to come up short constantly. I know nobody's expecting them to win the Big Ten or anything, but maybe like an occasional 9-win season every now and again.
Yeah. Yeah, Jackson, they've gone downhill big time. You know, I really thought that Maryland would be all right after Tua Tagovailoa or Tulia Tagovailoa left. I thought Billy Edwards came in and played against Auburn in the bowl game. He looked all right, not world beating, but he looked all right. Looked like he could be the man of the future, win 7-8 games, be competent. But they look really, really bad. Like you said, Jackson, is Mike Lotzley on the hot seat? Is this the game that USC finally gets the calls? If you need calls against Maryland, God rest your soul, Trojan fight. USC is 13 points from undefeated. Yes, that is very true. Like USC has been the best 56-minute football team in the entire nation. It's just when they get to the last 2 or 3 minutes, they're stinking it up.
Ugh. Oh man.
I mean, this is a cross country trip too, Jackson. SC's coming all the way over to the East Coast. I don't know how that's going to affect them. I'll let you pick first, good buddy.
Well, I'm gonna go with USC to win this one 31-21 against Maryland.
And Troy V brought up a great point. USC should roll Maryland. The one concern for me is the travel. I think that's what's. I'm gonna pick SC, like you, Jax. I'm going USC, but I think it's gonna be a tight one. They're gonna win it 38-35 in a high-scoring shootout.
Yeah. Well, we got ourselves an exciting matchup. Like last year, this was one of the top games in the Pac-12, especially if you caught it on Pac-12 Network. Colorado, Arizona. Now it's a top game in the Big 12 on Fox. Arizona's Big 12 title hopes, I mean, they're hanging on by a thread. Colorado's wanting to see if they're still alive for a Big 12 title game. And does Colorado get revenge? Or does Arizona keep their Big 12 title hopes alive?
So, Jackson, what's the status of Travis Hunter as we
They
sit tonight?
expect him to play at the moment.
Okay. Because if he doesn't play, Trenton McMillan and Noah Fafita may have a field day against that secondary. Because the secondary has been spotty. It's in the desert, but I will say though, Shedeur and that Colorado offense could score and they can score in a hurry. They've got three of the best wide receiver trios in the nation with Horn Jr., Webster, and Hunter. And if Colorado could get the run game going, they're a really dangerous team. They show what they could do when the run game gets going against Colorado State. You know what, Jackson? I'm going to take the Buffs in this game. If Travis Hunter stays healthy and he follows McMillan everywhere, I feel like that's going to create a tough day for Noah Fafita. I'm going to go 26-20 Buffaloes.
I'm going to reluctant. Nah, this is a toss-up for me. I'm going to go Arizona in a 35-31 victory against Colorado.
That's fair. That's fair. And we got another interesting Big 12 game. Baylor at Texas Tech. Jackson, were we too early to write off Texas Tech and Joey McGuire? And by we, I mean you, mister.
Oh, I know. I knew that was coming. Well, I mean, Texas Tech, I think they've got too easy of a schedule. But they have gotten better. I mean, they've got a big win against Arizona State. Little did anybody know that it was going to be a humongous win. And Cincinnati just keeps looking better. But the Arizona win, that's looking really good. But we're going to wait and see what happens to Texas Tech. They've been super impressive. But again, that's due to an easy start. But we look at Baylor. Question is, what's going to happen with Dave Aranda? Because I mean,
yeah,
it's not a matter of if he's gone, but when. Basically, like we're just basically waiting for the announcement at this point.
So Jackson, you think there's nothing he can do to save his job? Those chances are gone.
They would have to go on a humongous winning streak, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, Jackson, this game is in Lubbock, and Texas Tech is rolling. They're playing good football. They're a tough team in front of their home crowd. And like you said, Baylor, I mean, at this point, like you said, we're just waiting on the announcement of we've released Dave Aranda of his coaching duties. I think Texas Tech, they've got 2 good wins, solid wins. I like what they're doing. I'm going to go Texas Tech at home, 38-21.
Yeah, I'm gonna go as far as say Texas Tech will win 49-17 against Baylor.
Texas A&M should win.
Texas Tech, Texas Tech should win. Texas A&M should smack Mississippi State. James Madison, Georgia Southern's an underrated matchup.
I'll go James Madison. 34-29.
I think Clay Helton and Georgia Southern can pull off that massive upset at home. It's going to be a 28-24 upset.
And Breakaway says, go A&M, giggle. Yeah, just don't blow it. Don't blow it to the Cowbells.
I'll tell you one thing. You're going to Breakaway. I will say, though, you're going to love this game. But maybe Texas A&M will smack LSU for you next week.
But A&M should win.
Oh, speak of the devil, LSU. You know, this game has always been Arkansas coming up short, especially the last couple years against LSU. Yeah, because like they've had something. KJ Jefferson was hurt in 2022. What happens? They lose to LSU in tight fashion. Arkansas is close, but no cigar last year. Taylen Green, we really don't know the status as of now. And, by the time some of you watch this episode of the Pits Analysis Show, you will see massive updates on Taylen Green, whether he's playing or not. And we got some news from 5 hours ago from Nick Schultz. It looks like he is ready and raring to go. Well, 5 hours ago on this stream if you're watching it live. But LSU's coming off a humongous victory over the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah, it's an emotion.
Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks upset them. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, one thing that causes me caution with this, Jackson, is LSU's coming off that emotional night game win, a game that LSU that they had Ole Miss had so many chances to put them away in that game, like I said, on Saturday, but they just couldn't do it, and LSU prevails at the end. But we also see, Jackson, what Arkansas did before their bye week, Jackson, and you know what that was? They upset the Volunteers in Fayetteville. And with that victory, it might have saved Sam Pittman's job.
Oh, yeah.
But if he wins this game, it might be a cinch that he's coming back for 2025. At least one more year. But I will say, Jackson, I feel like LSU is a really, really good football team. And I don't think they're going to let it go to their head. I think Garrett Nussmeier, Colin Lacey, the best quarterback wide receiver duo that within the SEC, one of the better ones. I think they have a little more magic in them. I'm going to go 30-28 Tigers.
There we go. I think it's going to be Arkansas upsetting LSU. And yes, I do believe this will happen. It'll be an Arkansas. Oh my God. An Arkansas.
I know why you're doing this.
31-28 victory over LSU.
I know why you're doing this, Jackson. I know why. Because you can't wait for Brian Kelly to blow it again. so you could go on your venting session.
Do I think Brian Kelly can win regular season games, especially big regular season games? Yes. He just can't win the postseason. But again, that's another part two. We'll definitely have part two when that comes. Like, I don't know when that'll be, but get ready. It'll be wild.
And Dave Lindsay says, I know it's not going to happen, but I will laugh if Ball State beats Vandy.
I'm gonna cry
I
if
would
that
just
happens.
I would be just sad because I would be like sad because I'd be like thinking of what Jackson like. But let's not think about that, Jackson. Let's go find our next game.
Yeah, like Georgia, Texas. That's gonna be a humongous one.
Oh yes, Jackson. You know what, good buddy? I'm gonna have my answer Saturday because all I hear from you is Texas is back. Texas, they're legit. They're national championship contender. Heck, you've even go close to pickle. And I'm like, slow down, Jackson. Slow down. You're rushing into bed. Like, calm down.
Now, what was something that I also said last week? That it doesn't matter how they perform against Georgia the regular season. Because I think, honestly, we could solidify that they're going to be a team that does really well in the playoffs. I mean, they look like a national title team. Doesn't matter
But here's the thing, though,
or not. It doesn't matter if they win or lose against Georgia.
Whoa. Back up, Jackson. You're moving goalposts now. No. You stop it right there, young man. Did I just hear what I thought came out of your mouth? You said them beat Georgia doesn't matter. It extremely does matter, Jackson, because by the looks of their schedule, this would be the best win on their schedule as we sit today. So they better care.
Well, because honestly, they can beat the rest of their opponents after Georgia. I mean, do we really think
they can?
They're not going to get Quinn Ewers and Sark are not going to get their butts handed to them by Vandy or Florida, and they're sure as hell not going to get smacked by Arkansas or Kentucky. And I don't think they're going to lose to Texas A&M. That's just not happening. That is not happening.
Because listen here, Jackson, I'm going to drop a little knowledge on you. You may be right in the fact that they lose this game that they're still going to make the playoffs. Yes. But do you realize the importance of this game can decide what seed they are? Because, Jackson, this game could be the difference of whether they play at home or not.
Well, we see in the NFL playoffs, home field advantage doesn't exactly mean anything. Home court advantage doesn't exactly mean anything in the NBA. Home field advantage doesn't always mean anything in MLB. I mean, it means you got a better record. It means you've got the home field for most of the games. But does that automatically mean you're going to win? No.
I'm not saying that, Jackson, but we've never seen it for college, though. Let me ask you something, Jackson. Do you trust Texas to go to Death Valley and beat LSU?
Yes.
Do you think they could go to Happy Valley and beat Penn State?
Yes. They've shown it against Alabama last year in Tuscaloosa. They showed it against Michigan in Ann Arbor this year. Let me guess, your next question is going to be, do I think they can go to Columbus, Ohio, and beat Ohio State? Yes. Do I think they could go to Eugene, Oregon, and beat Oregon? Yes.
Jackson, that's a stretch. I wouldn't say they could go to Columbus and beat the Buckeyes. I don't know. That might be a stretch. But I will say,
I don't know. They could.
I feel like it'd be a really good game. If you ask me to pick a winner right now, I would probably say Ohio State by a field goal. But don't hold my feet to the fire. But we're getting off track. I see what you're doing, young man. Not funny.
Mm.
But see, Jackson, you're trying to deflect because you know what time it is. It's time for Texas to get their hides exposed for the frauds that they really are, and no
Yeah.
two timing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're not. They're not. Oh man, this is a part two to last year's debate of is Texas back. Oh, what's
And
up,
Sean
Sean Gardner?
Gardner's here with. He says, "Do you think Ohio State could go to Austin and win?" Ooh, I never thought of it like that. What do you think, Jackson? You think the Buckeyes, if it was
Yeah,
reversed,
it could
not to get
happen.
too far off this
I mean,
topic?
honestly, like Texas could win in Columbus, Ohio State could win in Austin. But I mean, if Texas is top five, which I mean, Texas is number one, that's going to spell trouble for the Buckeyes, unfortunately.
And Rough Rider returns and said a Buckeyes Longhorns game would be interesting. I'm telling you, I hope we get that like in a first round. Like nothing against Ohio State or Texas, but I hope like by the grace of football gods,
That part
we
two.
somehow get that in the first. Is Texas back? Pardon.
Oh my god!
And Sean Gardner takes a little jab. It'll be interesting to see a Texas play a real offense. Jackson, you're a big Texas defender. Stick up for him now.
Well, it's like I said. I don't think it's really going to matter whether Texas wins or loses this game because, like, they're going to win the rest of regular season games. I don't even think it's going to particularly matter if they win the SEC title. Like, I mean, the only thing that's really going to matter is home field advantage. That's pretty much it.
Wait a minute, Jackson. Yeah, there's not many things that like I'm going to sit here and have this conversation with
I'm
you, no matter what
telling
time
you,
of day it is.
home field advantage does not mean you're a national
No,
champion automatically.
no. That's not what I'm taking issue with, Jackson. You're saying this game does not matter when it absolutely matters.
Like it does, it does
the
matter for the long term, like for the playoffs. But I mean, both these teams are getting in either way. It does, like it matters on who's getting. I mean, it's not like either one of these teams are going to have a losing streak thereafter. Like we know how
no, but
Kirby and Steve Sarkisian work. They're cut from the same cloth of Coach Saban, and if they've learned anything from Coach Saban, which they have, they're going to keep their teams on the grind.
But see, here's the thing, though, Jackson. The winner of this game has got the inside track to the SEC title, and that's all the importance in the world. Because you win or lose this game, you either are going on the road for a playoff or you get one of them buys, and that's extremely important. Because Jackson, we've also seen within the NFL that sometimes the team that gets the bye is a little rusty. But we've also seen teams that don't get the bye come out and show they're beaten, they're battered, and the team that got the bye just runs them up and down the field. So you're sitting here telling me, Jackson, if Texas doesn't get a bye, that they don't care about that? They absolutely do care about it because they don't want to have to go to Eugene after playing a tough opponent.
Honestly,
like, just
I don't
imagine.
think because it doesn't matter if you get a bye. It doesn't matter if you have home field advantage. It doesn't matter if you're 9, 10, or 11 or number 8 for that matter. What matters is what you do with it. What matters is what you do with the hand that you dealt with. That's what matters.
Jackson, but it does matter because you're telling me, Jackson, that a team like Texas could just go in any building and win.
They could. I mean, they've proven that. They can most definitely do that.
Jackson, we're going to circle back to this conversation, and if Texas doesn't get that bye, and they end up losing somewhere, we're going to circle back to this. But to this game here, see, this is what y'all see. Jackson's getting me started. Like, golly.
Home field advantage does not mean you're going to win it all, and having a bye week does not mean you're going to win it all.
I'm not saying it'll win it all. I won't make that clear. I'm not going to say it's going to win it all, but it can make or break how you go, affects you going forward. Because if you play in a certain environment, like a Penn State, like a Eugene, Oregon, like a Columbus, like a Big House, or a Tuscaloosa, that
Texas
takes a
could get
mental
it
toll on
done.
you.
Texas could get it done.
But
They have
Jackson,
shown
it
it.
takes a mental
They
toll.
showed it. They showed it in Tuscaloosa in 2023. They showed it in Ann Arbor this year. Nobody could do it, but guess who ended that losing streak for opponents that went on the road to Ann Arbor and the Tuscaloosa, those non-con opponents that couldn't get it done. Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkisian, and the Texas Longhorns.
Now, Jackson, keep chopping. Says Texas wants to play at, say, Penn State, 20-degree weather.
I don't think they're going to mind it at all. I don't think they're going to mind it at all. I mean, they're going to be like, hell, we dealt with tougher than this. We can do it again.
So,
let's wrap up, boys.
Jackson, that's a great point. That's a great point, Jackson. You're telling me they would go to South Bend or they would go to Penn State in 20-degree weather with snow and wind.
Notre Dame can't win a big playoff game to save their life anyhow. So.
No, but we're talking about environments, though, good buddy. Here's the thing: if Texas doesn't get a cushy dome or a warm weather place, you don't think they would struggle just even a little bit?
No, I don't think it would have that much of an effect on the Longhorns. Because, I mean, they've dealt with some tough situations, and I think Coach Sark will be able to figure out a way to get his team rolling. I mean, he's done it before. He'll do it again. I believe he can get it done.
Could be a literal whiteout. Yeah, the field covered in snow, players slipping. But
I'd pay big money to watch.
I will say this.
Like, I would pay big money to watch a Texas Penn State snow day a few days before Christmas. Be like, what do you want for Christmas? A snow day game for college football.
You know what, Jackson? I'll say this right here, right now. If Texas wins it all, I will admit that I was dead wrong and you were right, good buddy. I will say it out of my own mouth. I will say Texas is legit in their back.
If Texas is not the SEC champions and they're like the 7, 10, like the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 team that's like winning a couple playoff games, which I mean, I believe they can. I'll be like, oh, okay, give it to me, man. What have you got to say?
See, this is what happens when you stay up late with us. We get in arguments about Texas and not even acknowledge their opponent. But to this game,
we got to acknowledge the Georgia Bulldogs.
Jackson, they became an afterthought in our argument. It was basically, can Texas survive? You think this game's important? I know Jackson may have a different opinion, and I respect his opinion, and he's entitled to it. We're all entitled to our own opinion. And he will say his piece, but I think this game means a whole lot. I think this game could decide who gets a bye, who doesn't, and who's going to win the SEC. And this game here, Texas has been firing on all cylinders. You know, Ewers looked a little rusty in that first half against Oklahoma. As expected, I know a lot of people were saying benching for Arch Manning, which I'm sure, Jackson, I'm sure you would have brought that up. But as you say, Jackson, some people are impatient. Like, Jackson, there was tweets going around I saw, we need to bench Ewers, put Arch back in. He's the guy now. Which I know what you would say to that, Jackson. Horse dung.
Mm-hmm. It's a load of it.
But on the other end, though, Jackson, Georgia, they can't seem to keep players out of trouble. Like, I know that's the joke with them, but they can't seem to keep players out of trouble. Their top wide receiver, Kobe Young, he got suspended for the year. And it's just like one after the other after the other. Kirby, what is going on, my guy?
Good God.
Like, good grief.
Like those boys just can't get it done. Like those players, like they don't know when to just call an Uber driver. Call an Uber driver. Call your buddy. Call your friend. Call your buddy friend Robin, man. Like call him, man. Like call him. Just I'm calling. Like if I'm hammered as hell, I'm calling my friends. Like I'm like, hey, I'm hammered. I can't drive. Can you drive me home? Kirby should be spending for this
Yeah,
game. Oh man.
yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I forgot about that storyline of Kirby pushing. This is very unlike Georgia Jackson. That they're much weaker than they had been the last 2 years when they won it all. Last 2 out of the 3, excuse me. They're very undisciplined. And Keith Choppin says, not to mention Kirby
Yeah,
assaulting players. Issue starts.
yeah. He probably got like a lecture in the back room, but that's it. He's not he got like a little slap on the wrist where like you're not gonna see Kirby getting suspended. Like honestly, if it was Dave Aranda doing that, he'd be gone. If it was Billy Napier, Neil Brown doing that, they'd be gone quick, fast, and hurry within the snap of a finger. But if you're seeing, but what you saw with Kirby, I mean, you're not gonna see Kirby getting punished because I mean, winning cures all. That's the reality we see in all college football. And matter of fact, that's just how it is with everything in life. Winning cures all. If you're performing well, everybody's got to put up with your quirks. Everybody will put up with the bad behavior quirks every now and again. But if you're not doing so hot, everybody's going to be like, well, we're sick or tired of the bad behavior when really and truly we're tired of not getting what we want in return.
Yeah.
And
like Sean Gardner said, Georgia's a mess.
Agreed. I mean, they're atrocious. I mean, oh my god. But yeah, like there are some cases where winning doesn't exactly cure all, where you can't really have enough damage control, where it's pretty much like you gotta fire the coach even if they're winning. Which we could go over that like on some other day, but it's like we're not gonna keep you up till 4 a.m. discussing the history of coaches that have done that bad off the field.
Yeah.
But Choppin makes a great point. Agreed.
Yeah. I feel like that would have been the case too. But to this game though, Jackson, Georgia also has given up a lot of points, which I'm not used to seeing that from a Georgia defense, which is very concerning. We saw the big plays that they gave up to Alabama. I will say, though, Jackson, Quentin Ewers is not as mobile as Jalen Milroe.
No.
Could work in their favor. And Jackson, I have a feeling who you're going to pick. But you know something, Jackson? Something deep in my heart tells me that Georgia's going to find a way to win this game Saturday. Georgia's going to go on the road to Austin, and they're going to win this game because their backs are against the wall, and Kirby likes it this way. He likes being doubted. He likes being said Georgia's a mess. He likes being the underdog. Jackson, give me Georgia.
You know something, Austin?
What's that?
You're right. I think Georgia wins this
one. Wait,
what? Yeah, I think Georgia wins this one.
It's a shock of the night.
I think Georgia wins this
Breaking news.
31-24 against Texas, which, I mean, again, like you said, this game's important for playoff seeding, but it's like, I don't think it's really going to matter on like who gets in or not. Cause like both of them, we're not kidding ourselves. They're both getting in the playoffs. So
breaking news, Jackson picked against Texas, his sweetheart of a team. Like breaking news, stop the presses. Like, we have a new headline for the
Ugh.
show. Jackson's picked against his darlings. But
They're not my darlings.
yeah. But I'll go Georgia.
You say it so suspiciously. Like,
Well, I don't know. You stick up for it quite a bit, Jackson. I'm just saying. It's like they're your mistress.
good grief.
They're like your mistress, Jackson. You have your married wife, which is Alabama, and then you're over here sneaking around with Texas. I'm just saying. But I'll go Georgia 33-28.
Oh man.
Okay, finally we could stop talking about Georgia, Texas, and talk about a game that's really going to steal the show. UCF and Iowa State.
Oh Lord.
Is this the game Gus Malzahn shocks the world?
Ugh. I'm just like, good God. I Central Florida's gonna screw things up for Iowa State and BYU, aren't they? Like, no one's expecting anything out of them, and then they're just gonna rip our dreams apart. Like, we want to see unbeaten Iowa State, BYU go against one another for the Big 12 title. That way, we know the runner-up of the conference title is getting in. To Rim, oh my God, like, oh man, like, that's funny.
Jackson, is there something you need to tell us?
Nope. I
Jackson living a double.
What was Rim? Is that like some kind? Oh, REM. It's like I was like, yeah, I know we're up, like, but good grief.
But I will say though, Jackson, like you said, UCF could spoil the dreams of Iowa State and BYU. And Jackson, wouldn't that be very Gus Malzahn and UCF like to go into Ames and pull off an upset? Do I think it's going to happen?
I hope it doesn't.
No. You know what? You know what, Jackson? I think Rocco Beck and company are going to do just enough that they're going to survive a scare 22-20. Iowa State.
I hope you're right on this.
Who you picking, good buddy?
What is it they always say about Malzahn teams?
When you expect something out of them, they disappoint. But when you least expect it, they always rear their ugly head.
This is the week where it happens, unfortunately. And Central Florida is going to win 28-24 against Iowa State.
Well, Jackson, another team that could ruin some dreams in Morgantown, Kansas State at West Virginia. Could Neil Brown ruin the dreams of Chris Kleiman and Avery Johnson?
If he doesn't, then it's his butt, because he's got in a skirmish with the fan base this week, where they were frustrated with him, and he's just kind of like, look, you just need to be happy with what you get. You just need to be great. I mean, there's beer and tailgating. Be happy with what you get. Can't be doing that.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see how it goes over.
Right. You may be right to say that, but you're wrong. Like, and have you ever said something where you're right to say it, but you're wrong for even saying it out loud? That's one of those things for Neil Brown. Like he's right for saying it, but he's wrong. He's wrong for saying it out loud.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those comments he should just kept inside of him and been like, because now he's got the whole fan base against him again.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
'cause they're
Jackson,
not.
Kansas State aren't. Go ahead.
Yeah, because like you can't be telling people that, oh well, just be happy with what you get. Like just be grateful. I mean that may work on that may work like if you're a parent with like a 8-year-old or something like that, or like a 14-year, but you're not gonna be able to tell that to a bunch of grown adults. Like, no, they don't want to hear, oh well, just be grateful for what you have. And it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong on it. You don't go saying that. You because again, you can be right for saying it, but you're wrong for even saying that out loud. You don't tell that to your fan base. But as for Kansas State,
Mm-mm.
nobody ever talks about them. Like seriously, like we were spending all our time talking about BYU Iowa State, but once again, Kansas State, they don't ever get talked about. I swear they really get no respect in all of college football. And it's been this way
Jackson, they're
with
the
the Bill
motto kids.
Snyder era. It's been this way with the whole Chris Kleiman era. Doesn't matter that they won the Big 12 2022. No, no, no. What's more important is TCU being in the playoffs, even though they're the runner-up of the Big 12. Chris Kleiman knows how to lead a great team, and we don't know we
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, it's like we don't hear much about
And
them.
Jackson, they're the model of consistency in the Big 12. Even
Mhm.
though they always lose that one game that they shouldn't, they always bounce back and continue to do Kansas State things. And once again, Jackson, this is a big time game because Kansas State is very much alive for the Big 12, very much. As long as they don't screw it up even more than they already have. But like you said, West Virginia needs this game because Neil Brown's seat is smoking hot. It's on fire. It's in Morgantown, so I think country roads will play a factor, and it is going to be a nighttime game. But I think Kansas State is hitting their stride at the right time. I'm going to go Wildcats 35-23.
I think it's gonna be a Kansas State 38-31 victory against West Virginia. I hope West Virginia
I,
will win this one for the sake of our friends like Joey Foster and Shane and Coos from Coos's Corner and Mountaineer Paul and all those guys and Timothy Green, especially as well, and plenty of other West Virginia people that I'm forgetting about at the moment. But if I'm forgetting about you, let me know. We got a good one. Iowa going against Michigan State.
uh, this is the Big Ten Saturday night game. Ugh. Yeah, NBC dropped the ball on this one, Jackson. It should have been Indiana, Nebraska, but I digress. Uh, it's in East Lansing, but here's the thing: Iowa has an offense now, and Aiden Childs has shown he's turnover prone big time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's what concerns me. And just off that alone, Jackson, I can't pick Michigan State because Aiden Childs turns the ball over too much. Give me Iowa 24-10.
Iowa will win this one 35-17 against Michigan State.
We got North Texas, Memphis, and no one really cares. Oh, yes.
Ugh.
Kentucky at Florida, 7:45 on SEC Network or 6:45 for our Central people. And the big news about this, Jackson, is Graham Mertz is officially done for the season. Torn ACL, he's done. No more Graham Mertz. It's DJ Lagway's team the whole way.
Florida just cannot get the job done against Kentucky. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if they won't break that curse, now will be the good time because we really don't know the status of Billy Napier. And as for Kentucky, they're coming off a loss to Vanderbilt. They weren't going to catch Vandy hungover.
Yeah, this game here, Jackson, DJ Lagway played good against Tennessee. He showed some stride. I really like what he brings to this Florida team. It's in Gainesville. It's a swamp. It's going to be a nighttime game. Jackson, both teams are 3-3. Both need this for bowl eligibility. I feel like Florida needs this just a little bit more because Kentucky has still got some cupcakes left on the table that they might be able to sneak a 6-win in. And the Swamp at Night, pretty hostile environment, just as Tennessee. And Dave Lindsey says the best the SEC has to offer. Lord, if that's Jackson, if this is the best y'all have to offer, you might as well give Ohio State the title now.
Good God. Ugh,
like Dave Lindsey says, this is the
point for me.
He says this is the best the SEC has to offer. Good God, if it is, Ohio State, Penn State, y'all fight over the Natty. Because good gosh, neither of these are worthy.
Nope. Do you know the last time Kentucky beat Florida 4 straight years? Is from 1948 to 1951, where Bear Bryant was the head coach of Kentucky at that time.
Unfortunately, Jackson, I don't think that's going to happen because Florida at home, Gainesville at night. I think they're fighting for Billy Napier. They're trying to save his job. And I think Kentucky, too much of a stagnant offense. I'm going to go 21-18 Florida at home.
You know, I think Kentucky will win this one in a 27-24 victory.
SMU at Stanford on the ACC. Who are we kidding?
My God, I cannot believe that game is a conference game, but SMU, I feel like they're massively disrespected in the conference title race. And if SMU can keep doing what they're doing, and if Pitt can keep doing what they're doing, could we see College Game Day go to Dallas, Texas for Pittsburgh, SMU, or is Penn State, Ohio State too big to ignore?
Knowing Game Day, they'll probably go to Penn State, Ohio State because that'll get more attention and more eyes than
Bear Bryant was the head coach of Maryland in 1945. Then he became the Kentucky head coach in 1946 to 1953. Then he was the Texas A&M head coach from 1954 to 1957. And he was the Alabama head coach from 1958 to 1982.
I think Penn State, Ohio State would be two, especially if they're both. If Ohio State still has one loss, and Penn State's undefeated, I think Game Day will go there.
But
it's a cross-country trip.
This
I'll let you pick first. Go for it.
This is 38-10 SMU.
I'll say it's a close game. I'll go 27-23 SMU.
Well, we got ourselves a I guess we can call it Pat 12 After, but we can call it Tupac After Dark on the CW. You know what? For once,
UNLV.
You know what? I am gonna stay up late to watch CW.
UNLV at Oregon State. UNLV going to Reeser. This is kind of an underrated game. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Jackson. Oh, you know what, Jackson? I've looked at this game and I've thought, you know what? UNLV's been on a roll. They've been looking good, but Reeser is a house of horrors for any team that comes in with a lot of confidence and momentum. Jackson, I think Reeser gets them. I'm going to go 28-20 Beavers.
Oof. I think I'm going to go UNLV in a 35-27 victory on the CW. And finally, we have Big 12 After Dark on Rice Eccles Stadium at ESPN between TCU and Utah. And there's a lot of questions for everybody. Although we get part of the old Mount West band back together.
Yeah. Jackson, Cam Rising is out for the season once again. But TCU has been an up and down football team. And Rice Eccles is not an easy place to play. Altitude at night. Whatever. And Isaac Wilson has shown shades of looking good. I can't trust TCU right now, Jackson. Give me Utah. I think their defense and the home environment. I'm going to go 23-17 Utah.
I'm going to go 28-20 Utah. That's what I believe it's going to be.
But you know what, Jackson? This was really, really fun. And I appreciate all the audience sticking with us late at night or early in the morning, depending on where you're at. But, Jackson, there's one important thing that I think we should take away from this, is that we all had fun, but that, as much as we love talking about all of these games, Jackson, there is one game that people should really be paying attention to. And no, it's not Texas and Georgia. And no, it's not SMU Stanford. No. No, it's not at UNLV Oregon State. Stop saying that, Sean. My gosh, show some respect. We should be talking about Alabama, Tennessee, the third Saturday in October. It's arguably one of the biggest games of the year in the SEC, one of the biggest rivalries. And what better way to talk about it is to go listen to the Voice of College Football, Alabama, where Jackson, Johnny, and Jeffrey break it down in perfect form. And it's all over billboards. I mean, it's in magazines. I mean, it's everywhere.
We're telling the cashiers at Publix about it. And matter of fact, for that episode, we had Caleb Gerard, the student journalist of the Daily Beacon, joining us to discuss the Alabama-Tennessee matchup. And I'll tell you right now, it was really fun. I had a great time discussing it. And the Alabama channel is 64 subs away from that magic number 2,500. And of course, not only that, but you can also, become a YouTube member on there. You can become a Crimson Faithful member for $2.99 a month, where you can have an emoji next to your name. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and show it to you right here and now. Would be okay. Let's do it. You can become a $2.99 member for Crimson Faithful, where you'll have a loyalty badge next to your name, and you get a custom emoji to use in comments and in the live chat. And of course, you can become a Saban disciple, where you'll have priority replies the comments, and access to monthly hangout, and you get a members shout out, and hang out with me on any social media you can find me. And of course, you can connect on social media and give out content requests on the Alabama channel. Now, if you become a YouTube member, you can really give out a content request. Like, if you want me to see if I can go and get like Joe Namath, or see if I can get like a former Alabama player from the 19 national title team or the 09 national title team, I will do my darndest for sure. I will not let you down. I will make sure content requests get refilled, and I will make sure you get your money's worth.
Jackson, that's all great and stuff. They should go check it out. But you know something, Jackson? That's a great promotion. But you know something, good buddy? Enough about that. Let's hear about you now. Because that's all great content. I love it. But Jackson, you need to promote yourself, good buddy, because like you're building that, you can have two empires. I mean, you're already, Jackson, like a superstar, but you can become an extra superstar. You could be on movies, billboards, posters, autographed DVDs. We can have the whole 9 yards, Jackson. But you got to promote your second channel too. We can't forget it.
Of course.
Go ahead, Jackson.
You can find me right here on Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 122 subs away from that magic number 500. I would love to get to 1,000 before the end of the year. That would be terrific. And of course, because you not only find some amazing videos that Austin and I are doing, and you also find episodes of the Jacksonian right here on YouTube, and you can find me on Jackson VOCFB on @ where I release my episodes on there. But of course, I release my updates on what I'm up to, on what I've got planned for the Jacksonian, and what I've got planned for Alabama with the Voice College Football on Jackson VOCFB on @ on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. That is where I give out some of my updates on what the plans are, what things are looking like. And of course, Thursday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, Jeffrey at Only Talk Sports and myself will take your calls on Alabama at the Voice College Football for the second edition of the Alabama Call-In Show. And for some of those, it's 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll tell you right now, we'll be very happy to take your calls right here on Alabama with the Voice College Football, because it's going to be a wild one. We don't care that you're an Alabama fan, an Auburn fan, Tennessee fan. You come on in. Just keep us talking about Alabama, Tennessee, or what you think's going on with Alabama, or what you think the rest of the season's going to look like. You tell us what you think. That's what the call-in.
Well, that's good, Jackson.
What you got going on
Jackson,
in your neck of the woods, Austin?
That's good, Jackson. I'm going to call in and I'm going to talk about my grocery shopping. Talk about me going and getting, some loaf of bread. I'll talk about milk, and I'll talk about the prices. And then while I'm at it, I might talk about Bama.
And of course,
I'll make it my therapy session.
I'll always tell the cashiers at the grocery store about all the channels. Like we're supposed to tell the cashier.
I'll hand them the phone, Jackson.
There you go. Like tell them, and don't forget to tell those cashiers at your local grocery store about what you're up to on Sports Talk with Austin. What you got going on?
So you can find me here on Sports Talk with Austin 2002, where I'll have a couple of videos releasing this week from this, obviously, and obviously one of them that's going up is going to be our debate about Texas, because Jackson and his mistress, Texas, apparently are seeing one another behind out his love's back. Jackson, you dirty dog.
I ain't that dirty.
You dirty.
Give me some credit.
You dirty. But in all seriousness, though, you can find those videos coming out later this week. And then, of course, Saturday we'll be back for Final Whistle to talk about the biggest games of the weekend, talk about the games we talked about tonight, and if there was any other upsets, we'll also talk about them. And you can find me on X at Austin W 1980-2639. Find my latest takes on Louisville, talk about the Cowboys, and I'll promote videos. I promote things at Jackson, Jeffrey, Mayhem Matthew. I promote them all. Mark Rogers, you name it, I promote. But that's what I've got going on.
And
but
we
Jackson,
promote
this was
Austin.
fun. Jackson, this was fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again Saturday. Well, I'm sure I'll see you again before Saturday, but the people, we will see you all Saturday. And if Louisville wins, I'm going to throw a party on stream.
Roll Tide.
Go Cards, everybody.